Hello, this is Kelly and
Aliya
from Women Who Lead and Sell. We've got such an amazing episode for you today. We've interviewed Alex Bull from Studio Tarw in Wales, in Cardiff, and soon to be Swansea. And she's spoken to us about motherhood and systemizing her business, like whatever you can measure, you can monitor. The journey, bringing a premium brand from London into Wales and like really thinking differently.
You can do the hard things, and there are hard things that we all come across in life, and how you sometimes need a cheerleader, and that's what she is for her clients. But what I particularly like is how she unpicked her journey and then re-described it to us, what it took for her to build the business that she built, and the things that she learned along the way about funding and what she was prepared to accept and not accept, and also how to build community. I really got this is a person who knows how to build community and had some really good tips around that.
As with all of our episodes, the more we go into these and we're learning, what we want to do is make sure that you get to listen, whether you're on the way to work or you're in the gym. We really want to encourage you to absorb it, learn it, and then apply it. That's why we're here. We're not just here to tell stories. We want to empower a nation of women to start and scale their businesses.
Yeah, and share this with a couple of female founders that you know who you think might find some value as well.
Hello, Alex. Welcome to Women Who Lead and Sell. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel really grateful to be here. So thank you.
I'm from Wales. Alex is from Wales. Aliya.
I went to school in Wales.
So it's like this Welsh
Tenuous
revolution coming together. I first heard you speak at She Thrives, and we've had Helen on the podcast, Helen Causey-Cadmore. Brilliant episode and conversation. I first heard you speak and first heard your story, and it was kind of my first stepping back out in Wales after a decade of not being out in Wales, and certainly not as my authentic, big, bold, visionary self. So personal thank you for me, because you lit my heart up and, you know, just put that rocket up my bum to just be like, you can do it too, because you've been out of Wales and you brought so much back to Wales. So thank you. For sharing your amazing story, and we get to hear it today. Just like tell us a little bit about you, just to kick us off.
Yeah, so my name is Alex Bull. I'm the founder of Studio Tarw. It is a luxury boutique fitness studio that I started the idea of in lockdown when I was living in London after over 10 years of working in the fitness industry in London, specifically luxury fitness. Decided to move home and was like, okay, so what am I going to do? Realised there was a huge gap in the market. Realised that I was probably the only London trainer who would ever leave. I was like, oh, I guess it's me who's going to have to do this. Started setting it all up. Couldn't find the right location. And after 3 years of looking, I found it 3 weeks before I gave birth to my first daughter. And the reason I say my first daughter is because I'm currently 32 weeks pregnant with my second child.
Oh,
wow, you look amazing.
Thank you. I feel really heavy and big, and as you imagine you would, you know, when you're getting to the end of the pregnancy.
Oh, congratulations.
Absolutely.
And well done. You
Thank
look like
you
you're
so
still in
much.
action. Like you're still...
Oh, yes.
Like 32 weeks,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, let's just keep going. Everyone was like, oh God, when are you going to stop? So I teach spin like 5-6 times a week.
What?
And it's our version of ride, and it's like full pelt, full on. And they were like, when are you going to go? And I was like, well, my due date's the 28th of October and I'm teaching a class that day. So then...
So
I was like,
good.
There's so many women out there going, yep, been there, done that, worn the t-shirt.
This was exactly, so you stood up at that event and you were just like, and this, and this, and then we did this, and then the photos were popping up, and it was so, like, it was just so full of spirit and that like heart of just I'm doing it anyway. Like there's no way I could, you know, recreate it for our listeners, but like tell us like just the few steps that you can in between. So it was like no studio, couldn't find it, 3 years. Tell us about the starting of building the business, and what our listeners will be interested in is to know from idea to like charging, like getting it out there?
So when I started, it was 2020, classic. And I imagine every founder story for the next hour of however long will be. I was in 2020 and I realized that I, didn't like my life as it was. So I was the head coach at like this amazing studio. I was a fully booked personal trainer. I had my own studio. And if any of the listeners are familiar with London, it was in Muswell Hill. I mean, my clients listening, or had come to my classes. So, and I was doing as successful as you can, basically, as a London trainer. And lockdown hit, classic. And I decided that I didn't want to be in London anymore. I was looking at everyone's Instagram back home and I could see people were like, my 5-mile radius is the beach. My 5-mile radius is the hills. And I was like, I want my 5-mile radius to be the beach. So I started to persuade my husband that I wanted to come home. So that's something. I literally had a PowerPoint presentation. I was like, today we're going to learn about Wales. I had my friends like roped in to do Zoom calls with him and be like, who'd moved from London. And I think relocating for me was like, I was just going home. Whereas for him, he's from Essex but like really close to London. Like he's on the tube line. So he's like Hornchurch. So he was like, I don't know anything about this place. So we started to look at what the future could hold. And that's when I got the idea. Because I was like, what do I actually want to do with my life? Both of us were met because we were professional actors. And we decided to move into the fitness industry because it was something that you could do alongside being an actor. And then it literally it accelerated for us. It just went like from 0 to 100. And then for me, it was like, oh, this is what I should have been doing the whole time. Like, this is my everything. And I loved it. Whereas for him, he still coaches here and he's an amazing coach. But lockdown for him made him go, I think I actually just want a bit of stability and a bit of a salary, normalness. And I was like, no. It's like, you just know yourself, don't you? And so then I started thinking like, right, what am I going to do? And I always knew that I had that entrepreneurial side to me. I think you do anyway when you become freelance. So I'd already had my own PT studio that I was sharing with 2 other trainers, one of them being my husband. And like, I already had that, but it was all very much small. And then for the first time ever, I started to go dream bigger, because it wasn't that I was trying to compete. If I'd stayed in London and tried to open a studio, I was trying to compete with this 360 studios doing what I'm doing. In Wales, there was none. And I was like, whoa, could start something incredible. So then you start to allow yourself to dream big and be like, okay, so if I'm the only one that's going to do it, then that means that I could be the one that could start, set up in Cardiff. And then like I could take over Wales, like it was suddenly like the ideas start going, because it's not just, oh, I'll keep to my little corner of London. It was like, wow, I could really do something amazing here. And I guess I'm the only one who could do it, because nobody else leaves. Because it's like, it's such a sweet deal when you're there. And yeah, so we decided to move home. During that whole phase, it was a matter of thinking, because we were still locked down, it was thinking, right, what am I doing? What's my brand? What do I know? And what do I need to know? Was a big thing. I used this platform called Live Plan, that a friend of mine who's also an entrepreneur had used. And it helped me write my business plan and sort of bridge the gaps in what I knew and what I didn't know. And I think that going into it, you just have to be ready to be like, I don't know stuff, and that's okay. And also really being like honest with yourself and being like, do I enjoy sitting down and doing all of this, the numbers and all of that? No, but I need to figure out a way in, and what actually do I find exciting, and what do I need to work on, and what do I need to ask help for? So then I started asking for help from anyone who would give me 5 minutes of their time. And I found my incredible business mentor, his name's Andrew Shapin, and he had set up, founded business, and he was, I mean, he was honest. He got me the right introductions, introduced me to the right people, like, the owner of Primal Strength, the CEO, which is an amazing brand. He owns gyms in Glasgow. So immediately I was like, oh, that's a similar demographic to me. How have you done it? And I think you have to be ready to be vulnerable and ask questions. And like, I know my expertise, but I also was willing to be told, like, that's not going to work in this scenario. You're going to have to flex and update. But then in the same breath, I doubled down on what I knew what my vision was, because people were like, oh, do you think that like there's a reason that it's not in Wales? Do you think there's a reason that like maybe Welsh people don't want it? Maybe you need to have an open gym thing. Maybe you need to do this. And I was like, no. I was like, just because Welsh people don't have it, it doesn't mean that they don't want it. I was like, there's an Ivy in Cardiff. Like, they want nice things.
Yeah.
There's a David Lloyd. There are these like luxury points. And also lockdown has just hit, and people are, I'm not going to be the only one who's gone, I want to go home. Like, there's going to be so many Londoners who have experienced like the luxury boutique fitness lifestyle, who then want to go home. And then what? The only option they've got is the leisure centre. Like, where are they all going? I was like, I'm ready for them. I'm ready for it. And then I had the obviously obstacle then of it still was lockdown. So I thought about how I could start to just do something. And that was, as loads of people were doing, which was online coaching. And I started Studio Tarw as an online concept. And then that's how I grew my community. And that's how I also I got to try stuff out and try my branding out and see if it started off, it was purple, like it's all jet black now with bronze. It started off, seeing what people responded well to. I never ever wanted my brand to be really, really feminine, because I wanted it to be accessible for everyone. That was always the big thing for Studio Tarw. It was like, I want it to be somewhere where anyone can turn up and have a really good session and feel really a part of something. Like, that was it. I was like, I want you to feel like this is your place. You found your place where you can be consistent with exercise. Because that's the biggest thing with exercise is people struggle. It's like, you will see the best results if you're consistent, no matter what you do. And how do you be consistent? You find your right place. So that was what I used the online platform for initially, whilst I was doing everything else, was, and also to get a stream of income, right? Because I needed to know that people would pay for me, pay for my idea, pay for something. So, and what you're doing then, from my experience, is you're just like that. It's a little bit of validation of going no, this is a good idea, and people are putting their money where their mouth is, and they're backing me. And even if it's a small amount, it started off, I was getting paid £15 a month for each membership, online membership, which was standard in lockdown. And then as I was feeling this is good, actually, I was like, let's put the price up. Now my studio is a premium luxury fitness brand, but I needed £15 a month just to give me that boost. And we all need it. And I think as well, that's another point of coming back to just being that vulnerable and being it's okay that I don't know exactly what I'm doing right now. And maybe I need to start at a lower cost, just so I feel brave. Yeah, I needed to start somewhere, and I needed to, just be vulnerable and be ready, and then take the feedback. Because then when you're refining your product, when I first started personal training, I was PTing people for free, and I think that when I mentor people, or people come to me for advice in the fitness industry specifically, and they're I get a lot of oh, you shouldn't do anything for free. And I'm absolutely. At the start, you kind of do, because you need to feel confident sitting there, barefaced, saying to someone, this is my price. And that doesn't come from having your certificate. Good luck. You need someone to give you that feedback and go, Alex, that was such a good session. I loved that. And I'm okay, what would you pay for it? And then immediately then you can go into that next meeting with a paying client and go, this is what I'm worth. And you just need that little bit of feedback now and again. I mean, if you've got the confidence to go straight in, then, power to you. But I always needed that little bit of like, so when I could say, this is the price, I just felt like, yeah, no, it is the price and it's good.
If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're interested in growing your business. And if so, we have a 6-week program where you will get the clarity that you need to come up with that strategic plan that you need to get to that next level.
Yeah, if you want straightforward, no fluff, like hands-on, real personal experience that's going to get you to the next level of your self-leadership and to land the next high-value client, come and find out more. Keep following the podcast, listening to what we're doing, and also come over to LinkedIn to find out the details. Women who lead and sell, it does what it says on the tin. We are doing this to break down that process. You're a woman with an idea. And then you put it together. So you lead with your idea, literally show up with, this is what I think I can do. And then what about selling it? And all too often, we know the story, right? We know the success story. That's fantastic. Alex has done really well. And all the other women and myself and Aliya, we've both scaled businesses. You know that story, but you don't know the early parts. And, you can read the books and listen to the podcast, but it's like, let's fast track our thinking and go, actually, I did do things for free in those early weeks or months. And then I got that feedback and the value I was given was validated. And then I upped it. That is actually the process. I didn't get that when you first, because your big picture when you first spoke, just told me the whole journey. And I was so interested in that nitty gritty of, one, coming back from premium thinking in London, back to Wales. So I lived away for 10 years and then I came back and I immediately, my mindset went from big thinking, 7 figures, blah, to back to Cardiff. And I kind of just put this hat on of, I better adjust all the pricing and I better change everything. So it's so important to hear that you have kind of gone through that ladder of free right up to premium and you're here sharing that story. So it was so, so valuable. Thank you for that. Aliya, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, that whole value discussion is a problematical area for many female founders.
Yes, as well, because I don't know whether it's all those stats, isn't it? Where a man will look at, isn't this, oh my gosh, you can jump in and correct me. It's like a job description and see 3 out of the 10 things and just go and apply for it. Mm. And a woman will wait until they've got like all 7 or more.
Yeah.
All 10 most of the time. Yep. But I also think that obviously don't keep doing stuff for free. Like sometimes people will be like, I'm charging this amount. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, you're good. You're good. You've been doing it for long enough. So it's almost like put a time restriction on it. Be like, at this point, and it's all about like, when people go into business without a business plan, I don't know how they do it, because otherwise you're just sort of, you're like, and maybe people like that, but otherwise you don't know where you're going. Mm-hmm. So you will end up doing stuff for ages for free because you just are like winging it a little bit. And I'm all like, do stuff before you're ready, take the chance, believe in yourself and just go for it. Sometimes you just got to jump. But then I'm also like, because I need to know where the end jumping point is, because otherwise you're just free falling and you don't know at what point does this end. And that's how you get into the loop of like, just not putting a value on your product and on yourself. You can't you can't work for free forever.
No, and
we all gotta live.
It's true. I was having a discussion with a female founder the other day and talking about what they had put into their package, and they'd put an awful lot into their package. And I don't think they'd actually done the calculation in terms of time of how many hours were in that package, and that if you then deducted them from the amount that they were charging, it was giving an hourly rate that was probably quite a bit below what they then said. Well, actually, I think I'm worth this. Well, you're not actually charging that, and it's a particular problem with coaches that sell their time effectively, and they work from home, so they've got very low overhead.
Yeah,
and so they don't really understand they haven't really done a profitability type of a conversation with themselves because their overhead is so low. And I was trying to explain to this owner, this is what it would look like at the end of the year if you're sort of technically, in inverted commas, not profitable, you might still have a cash positive because your costs are low and you're doing it from your living room. But what it looks like is you'll get to the end of the year, you'll have generated an income of whatever, but you'll look back at the amount of hours you've put in and go, that doesn't compute. I don't feel valued. And in fact, you may even feel burnt out. That's what it looks
Exactly.
like. And that's why
Yeah.
it's so important, if you want to be taken seriously as a businesswoman, to do that structuring from the start, that strategic. What am I doing with my time? How much is this a good use of my time? How much am I spending on this activity compared to that activity? And why am I spending so much over there and still looking very busy, but, just not valuing my own time? And when you've got a shop, you've got to pay rent and you've got to buy in stock, that whole, you're very aware of cash changing hands and value changing hands. I just think there needs to be more, we need to talk more about value rather than just money. And I think you kind of hit it yourself. Like, what you're saying is, look, I know what I can deliver in terms of probably results, because that means a lot, really, doesn't it, in health, right? And for you, results means people sticking with it and being consistent. So what you're saying is, to get the value out of what I'm offering, they've got to stick with it. Well, I've got to then focus on creating something that they want to stick with, because that's where I'm creating the value. And then when you do produce that sort of wonderful alchemy of things working, you can charge more. People will pay more for that because they pay for results. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think if you're like starting something brand new as well, there's things that you can put into place. Like, you can be honest and be like, this is an intro offer. This is like a founder, like we had a founder rate here. Like, there's loads of things that you can implement so you're not stitching yourself up later on. So it's like, this is the price you're getting now. Lucky you, because this business has just launched. If you don't want to disclose how many years, however much you want to like give away, isn't it? Because as well, like, your experience can be carried over. So, and I always say that, like one of my coaches here, he's only, recently qualified as a as a level 3 personal trainer, like level 2 fitness coach. Initially, he's just got his PT, but he's been 12 years as a football coach. So I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. You only been a personal trainer for like 5 minutes, but you've been a football coach for years. So don't feel like he's like, so he was getting all the imposter syndrome. And I was like, take on this client now. And he was getting all in his head. I was like, do 5 free sessions and then sit down with him and review. And like 5 was quite a lot. But I was like, this is, someone was just sort of like, let's figure something out. And now he's getting paid per hour. And now he's taken on like 3 more clients because he just needed that little bit at the start. But yeah, as going back to what you said about as well, like, if you're just giving away loads of time and not working out the value of like your per hour, what will happen is you'll feel resentful to your business and you'll start to lose that spark and get that burnout. And like, I've done it, I didn't move my prices quick enough in London, even though I was entirely fully booked. And I was like, oh, something's got to give. And it was me, like, I gave. And that's what will be the first thing to go. Like, you're not going to be able to do it forever because you can't, you're just one person. And if people want your time, then, they should pay for it. And that's absolutely fine because you've done the training, you've got the expertise, you've done the time, and you deserve to be paid for it. Like, my baby wasn't breastfeeding from me. And I, at that moment, would have paid anything to fix that problem. So like, you are the solution to someone's problem because you have all of this experience, and you need to know that people will pay for it and not be like, oh God, is this okay? Like, you're worth it.
Tell me something about, there's something you touch on there, Alex, about matching up with the people that are looking for what you're offering. Telling me something about how you developed that. Like, how did you find the people that were looking for you?
With my personal training business, which is where I started, I initially got a lot of, as you can imagine, like a lot of women. And I realized that what I offered them was a safe space to ask questions, get things wrong, have someone like I am, as you've figured out, quite energetic and quite a little bit energetic, and I'm a natural cheerleader. So if you want someone screaming in your face and telling you like, give me more, like I'm not your girl. There's someone else for you. I'm going to be like, no, I think that you can do it. Take a minute and then we're going to try it again. And I will get you results through, I just totally believe in people. And I think that everyone has something in them that they can like unlock and show to the world. So I'm looking for people who need like someone to back them and in their corner. How do you find those people? I think that, you know, if you're looking, I initially was teaching, I started my career in a pure gym, and I think that I gave off that energy, and it was a lot easier. It was like, you know, over 12 years ago, where I would teach a class, people would come up to me at the end and be like, do you do PT sessions? I'd really like to just have your energy. And I knew that, you know, and also it meant that a sales conversation would go a lot quicker. I'm not trying. And if someone was like, when someone just like gets that energy back and forth, I think when you're in a coaching environment, that is like what you're kind of looking for. And then when I was creating Studio Tarw, I have focused a lot of my energy on creating a community. And I feel so proud of that community that I've created. So then I had to think about, okay, so what is it that I'm good at? I'm good at being someone's cheerleader. How can I show people that I really care about them? So what we do is every time someone hits a milestone on the classes, we celebrate them in some way. So if someone does 50 classes, they get a Tarw water bottle. If someone hits 100 classes, we put out big 100 balloons for them, cheer them at the end of the class. You know, if they hit 200, like, and stuff like that, and we put challenges on in the studio, and we're like, just sign up and give it a go. And if you don't do it, then who cares? But you might do it, and then you'll be amazing. And then we give them like a little goodie bag at the end, or we have stuff like that. So that's how I've sort of gone. My branding and who I am is a cheerleader, and I want to celebrate people, and I want people to celebrate every win. Like, how can that translate to create a community inside a gym, essentially? Like, I'm not interested in if someone can run a really fast 5K. Good for you if you can, and I'm so here for it. But like, the fact that you turned up and you tried at 10 points, like, that's what I care most about. And those are the people that keep coming, because what I've then gone to realize then is my target market is probably the person that doesn't have a gym membership. So then because people were like, oh, you should be going after people who go to David Lloyd because they're a similar price point to you. And I'm like, no, I'm looking for the person who sat in their office, probably about to order Uber Eats from their phone. Because that means, one, they've got the disposable income, and two, they live around the corner, they work around the corner. So like, that's the sort of person that I'm looking for, is someone who's like, they're putting money in themselves, maybe not in like the way that they really want to, and they have an idea of who they want to be, and then it's like they just need that consistency, and it's how you translate that consistency into a brand. And that is like how we've done it here with the community, is just creating lots of opportunities for people to talk and get to know each other. And you know, like, you're going to immediately feel amazing when you finish a class. Say if you've just done your 100th class and everyone in the room is like, yeah, you know, like, you're going to be like, these are my people. And that's what I was looking for, is opportunities because we're recreating the brand again. So that's been a little bit of like, I always knew that was what the direction I wanted to go down, because I'd started to tap into it on the online community of like, just the celebration of like, you know, every opportunity you want to be in someone's corner shouting them out. It just means that when we recreate it, that we know that works. Because I didn't know that putting 100 balloons up would work. I hoped it would, but like, I wasn't sure. You can never be sure, can you, until you try it.
How do you create that outside of you? Like, how do you create that in everybody else in the centre? I mean, how many people are there that work with you, colleagues that you've got in the studio? 10?
10 of the coaches.
Okay, so 10 people who've probably got their own perspectives on what a cheerleader is, but how do you have it be consistent? Is it training? What is it?
So my background as well was training coaches. So like, that is literally what I did as part of my job was specifically as part of my job in like the luxury fitness industry, which was for like 7 years, I was training people up. I was also like the master trainer of the UK for a fitness brand where I'd go around and like train people up. So, and it's looking for people who are in line with my brand essentially, and who just believe it and just get it. And when I'm saying like, you're going to have to put in the training hours to learn how we do it here. A lot of my spin instructors now are people who came to classes for the last year and love it, are obsessed with it, get what I do, and now want to do it. And I'm looking for that spark. There's something about someone, and sometimes you get it wrong, and like and that's okay as well. Like you've got to be like, yeah, do you know what? I thought you were a good fit, and actually, we're not both happy. Saying that, all of the coaches who started with me at the start are still with me, and we've only expanded on the team. But like it's just one of those things, isn't it? Where but I also have trained someone up and then gone, I don't think that jumping up and down in front of everyone is actually going to be your vibe. And I've gone, no, you're right. And it's just been one of those happy things where it's gone, yeah, I think that actually, because it is very high energy what we do here. And finding, because that was a big thing when I was going out for investment was, yeah, you're great. People are buying into you and your online platform. But how are you going to get a whole team of people, not only just in Cardiff, but you want to do this again in Swansea and you want to do this again in Bristol? Like, how are you going to do that? And then that has been like the biggest learning curve of like, oh yeah, like my coaches are now filling their classes off their own back on their own right. And it's all been down to like hiring and training and consistently training. So bringing them all together, the same thing that I do with the community of the clients, I do with the staff. So I'm always like looking for ways to, and I'm trying to like, it's just really simple things. Like as a business, I get offered nights out for free, so I'll be like, who wants to go? And then they can all go together. I'll go for like an hour because I'm pregnant and I'm miserable. But like, phone my husband.
Go and get
like,
me.
You're gonna have,
yeah.
Come and get me.
I'm burning to ask this in terms of the systems and the automation behind what you do. So what I've just pieced together from what you've shared is obviously you've got the training background, you've got the PT building your own book. My background was always business, but sales. So cold calling and training people that way and doing stuff. And then it's been running my own business, marketing agency. And then coming right back to like, okay, what am I really good at? What I'm definitely navigating is understanding like the new systems and the automation of the human metrics. So when I think about you and the 10 coaches, I'm like, oh, like your roster. I don't know why I've got these old terms coming up from somewhere. How have you found all that? Are they the same systems you've used throughout your career, or are they new, improved? Now, how do you manage the dashboard of performance and that sort of stuff?
We use a software. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say the software. It's Mariana Tech. Good for them if they get some sales out of this, but Mariana Tech.
You can say.
I use another platform. I won't say that because I don't want to get in trouble. But I use another platform for many, many years with different companies. And I knew what I liked about it. I knew what I didn't like about it. I've also used different ones in different studios because I launched a brand called Orange Theory, which is like a massive global franchise. And I launched it in the UK. And I got to see what works with initial like data capture, and then how you can see what hits, what doesn't, and all that sort of stuff. So I had the software that I'd previously used. I then researched the gyms that I loved and the ones that I would go back to all the time in London. Obviously, I had the wonderful use of being in London as well, isn't it? So I could go to the most expensive gym and find out what the software was and go, oh God, they're using that one. But yeah, the studios are using, and I just don't like it. Like the back house stuff, right? This one is amazing because you can see people checking in. You can see the return as well. So when they return, you can see if they've hit 50 classes. You can also see coach's performance. So like how often people are returning to that coach. We can also see then like with the other sort of side of it is we can put in automations, like email automations. So once you go to your first class, you'll be like, wow, you enjoyed. Have you booked onto the intro offer? Oh, you booked onto the intro offer. Well done. Did you enjoy? Did you know that all these other things? And then all these other things are happening. And then we try and like keep that automation going then, like just that keep checking in. And it's all like done through this Mariana Tech software. It's
wonderful.
been the best one that I've used. And when someone described it as like the Amazon for the fitness industry, and I would say that's what it is, because what you don't want, as we all know, is you don't want options and you don't want loads of questions. You want it to be like click, click, buy, take my money. Like that's as soon as you're getting anything that could cause decision paralysis, you're gone, you're out of there. So it's really straightforward. So that was how I found it, was through using loads of different ones, through seeing the one that most people are using, and then finding the one that actually I find that is the most streamlined and user friendly. Because at the end of the day, like I've got software experience on fitness software, but I am in no way like a super tech savvy person. Like I can use that software really well. And when I say that is like, that is a big tick for them.
Thank you for answering that and breaking it down. I think for me, whatever you monitor, you can measure, and then obviously you can make improvements, but it just gives you that freedom and control. But like to see the whole machinery, right, of everything and how people are doing, and that combined with the cheerleading and the brand and the love and the care, like it syncs everything up. And I just wanted to unpack that little bit, because I'm just thinking of, God, like lots of different business owners that their businesses are flashing through my mind. And I'm just like, when you're not connected to your numbers and the return rates and all that, it's same as you said, without live plan, you really set yourself up for success. Like you really did. You were like, okay, I don't know that, but I'm going to do that. I set my PowerPoint up, I said my pros and cons, this is what I'm doing. Live plan or anything like that will ask you, so what's your income? What's your cost? So it starts to pull out of you everything that's needed for this to actually be a business, rather than an idea that's hobbling along as a lifestyle something that doesn't really go anywhere. So you really did set yourself up, which are, so many. I mean, our focus is women who are selling and leading already, but there are so many startups or women who've had businesses before and they haven't quite worked out what went wrong. They may have left corporate and they've set something up, and it's like, well, what we're both very passionate about is this, like the fundamentals, the basics, no matter what industry you're in. What if we, and we're thinking of it now for the different modules for our academy, like what is it that women fundamentally need to have? And not just like the textbook stuff from a business, but like real life stories. We can cut to this part of the podcast and go, this is what Alex did. Like, it's not just a module that you're going off to learn in your BA honors in business management that I did, that I've never used anything from. Like, you go out into the world after all these qualifications, like you said, with the training, you have your PT training, you go out and that just starting, like it's the customer, it's the working things out, it's the mapping out the customer experience, the charging. You need so many different business fundamentals to take something from an idea to making it really, having impact.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's so true. And like nothing is going to prepare you like the real world. Because I had very little business experience, really. Like I did have business experience, but not like a degree, but obviously, like you said, isn't it? It was like the actual doing. And I think that for me anyway, like the textbooks, the numbers, the logic, like that would have been waste of my time, because it was just like, it's just so random. Whereas when it was like, this is about people, these numbers mean that people are going to come to your studio that you love and that you feel super passionate about. I was like, okay, I could get on board with this. And then that lit the fire in me. And I really just wanted to, I just wanted to learn everything. And I was like, I just wanted to, absorb it all. The best thing I can say is be honest with yourself. Like if you're not good at if you feel like that bit is the bit that's letting you down, be ready to go back to the drawing board and ask someone who's really good. A lot of the time, all of us are more than happy to give some time to someone who's like I just need some help, because we've been there. And like, I know I wouldn't have got to where I am now if, Stephen from Primal didn't sit down with me for an hour and just go, what do you want to know? Tell me, like, what is it you want to know? And sometimes you can come out of it and go, all I got out of that was that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The suggestions they said wasn't right for my business. And that can make you double down a little bit. Because a lot of the time I was told a lot of things that were like, that'll never work, that'll never work, that'll never work. And I was like, but I think that they will. Like, and I just had to trust my instinct. It's knowing when to take on the advice and go, I genuinely don't know what I'm doing with marketing. Like, so, or, and then being like ready to take on that advice. Like, I don't know how to get more views on my story. So like, I'm going to take that on board. But if someone's going, you should add in another class that's to do with whatever, I'm going to be like, no, because that's going to mucky the waters. We streamline, you keep it simple. You don't want to put people in decision paralysis. I think you do really well. Okay, that's great. But I've worked in the fitness industry and I know that is my thing. And I feel really confident about that. Like, I had an investor, like one of the things that like Kelly, you heard me talk about was like, I had this syndicate of people who of men, not that it matters, but they came in. I had a newborn baby. I was in an investment round. I was, as anyone who's starting a business, trying to raise money, add in that you've got like a 3-month-old baby. You're like, what is happening? I had a deadline of opening a studio. I had stuff on order. And they go in, I'm going to give you £100,000 for 30% of your business. But I also knew that they just didn't get it. And then I had to go, no, I'm sorry, but no. And they were like, but now you don't have enough money. And I was like, but I need 250 to open. So you give it to me and I'm still 150 down. But it would get me going. But then I'm 30% down with my business. And like, you're not here with a newborn baby, putting every single thing into it. And I had to walk away and say, no, I'm not gonna take it. And that's one of those moments where you have to go like, yeah, having the money would be nice because it would have just given me that rocket. But then what happens? You have to play the tape forward and go, okay, so when I need to raise more money that I ultimately will have to do to open my second site, I'm then down because I'm going to have to give away another certain percentage of my business to raise the remaining. And then I'm not the majority owner. And then what was this for? Like, so it's going, no, thank you, but no, thank you.
So you use the words, I held my nerve, and it was, it was so good to hear. And I did have, for one of my businesses, I did have an investor, and with hindsight, you can look back, but you just go, when you're not aligned. So I remember doing well every single month, and then every quarter we would meet. And it would be like, just my soul would be just pulled out. And then you're just doubting yourself for a month after that meeting because they've pulled it apart and they're just looking to rinse and get the profit out. You're trying to build, you have a longer term view. You know what it's going to take to build that community, that brand, that all of it. And ultimately it's just when you're not aligned, it sucks the life force out of you. So there's just no point. You have to tough it out. And I always think about in those early days when you're making those decisions, I think about, the army nets when they're like going across a field. I don't know what that's called, but like they're going along the front, whatever, like you just dig in, because everything feels like it's bearing down on you. But actually, when you've got that spirit and you can see what you're building and feel it, even if it's not all in place, you just keep going. And you definitely, you just demonstrate that throughout with what you've done. Have you opened the second site now? I'm not. What's going on? Where are you at with everything?
Well, our 1 year anniversary on the 27th of July, which is my birthday, because I opened on my birthday, which was, it was one of those things where the earliest the equipment could come was on the Monday. This is obviously a year ago. My birthday was on the Saturday, and I was like, okay, that's my birthday then. And then actually this year, everyone was like, the whole studio was, I was like, oh, I've actually accidentally organised a birthday party for myself every year. I was like, couldn't have worked out better. If anyone's into star signs, like I'm a Leo, and I was like, I'm not really into star signs. And then I saw the Leo thing and I was like, but like that is the most Leo flex move that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh no, everyone has to celebrate. Maybe. I was like, oh God, it's been amazing. It's been incredible. It's been absolutely brutal beyond belief. It's been so hard. It's taken everything out of me. And like, if I didn't love this, I think, I don't know how you can do it. And I think that being in the business, when I teach those classes, as pregnant as I am, like when I teach those classes and people are giving that energy back and they're smiling and they're sweating and they are loving the exercise side of things, I'm just like, it's worth it. It's worth it. Like, I'll do it again. I do it 10 times over. So talk about doing it 10 times over. We are opening a Swansea site, which is so exciting. So I'm from Swansea. So it was always the plan to go to Swansea next. It came out in all of the press release on our anniversary weekend. And we're hoping to open end of next year. What I've realized, and this has been a huge thing as well, is that when I was a student, this definitely wasn't the case, but we're in a wellness era. We are in our wellness era. And all of the students, they don't want to go out and get drunk like I did anymore. I mean, I would go out and get drunk and then wake up and go for a run, but I was like a freak of nature. But these people are like, they don't want to go and get wasted. One, they don't want to be on Instagram looking gross, but they want to be seen in the really cute studio with their acai bowl, drinking their matcha. And I am more than happy to be that studio. They're prioritizing spending their money. So I honestly, I always knew that international students were going to be a demographic, because in other countries, this kind of studio that I'm doing is really normal. Like Barry's Boot Camp, Soul Cycle, hot yoga, hot Pilates, costs quite a lot of money. And so to them, it's normal. I didn't expect to see so many British students who just want to come to be seen and hang out with like-minded people. So that has been incredible. And Swansea University, the campus there's like 30, it's madness. Like there's 30,000 people or something. Like it's huge. So we're going to Swansea next, down in SA1, to be in the hub of all those students and like bring that community together. Because, if that's what I was on Wine Street, they're not on Wine Street anymore. If anyone knows Swansea, like they're not on Wine Street. They want to be doing Pilates, looking after themselves. Like good for them. They're going to be way healthier coming out of uni than I'm sure a lot of us were. And they got a really good mindset. So why not just take it to them? And then the site after that then is Bristol. And then I'm hoping for that to be the following year. So the reason we're going like almost like back into Wales and then out to Bristol is because for me as a Welsh woman, and as every Welsh person is incredibly proud and patriotic. And my brand is Tarw, and everything is, to me, it's so important. I'm a Welsh language speaker. So I really wanted to have two strong sites in the South capitals, just to really in the capital and in the other South Wales city, like that are the biggest cities really, before I then went into England, because I was like, that's what I felt like, that was my brand. That's Welsh, that's Wales. And then we could go to Bristol really confidently. I guess there's a little bit of that value thing, right? Of going like, I just want to be a really strong Welsh brand. And then I'm ready to go into England and be like, I can fight with the rest of you. And there's nothing really in Bristol doing what I'm doing either. So we are it felt like this with Cardiff. It is a bit of a race against the clock. So if anyone's listening and wants to open a luxury fitness studio in Bristol, I hear that 2030 is a really good year.
I love it. I think it makes so much sense to really have things rooted strongly, because I can really feel what you want to grow. And so it just makes so much sense strategically to have it like proper rooted well in Wales. And obviously the stage of life you're at with the family and stuff like that, you still need to give so much care, don't you, there, being a mum and stuff, to almost another one. So it's like what are some of the things, because there'll be lots of well, I can tell you now, some of our listeners do have young families, and of course there'll be another generation coming through that are looking to plan. Oh, I have a career, I want a business next, and I want children. So, what are some of the things? Because you've done it once, you've had how old's your first one now?
She's going to be 2 this
2.
month.
Amazing.
And she said a very good quote. This is great timing for me to put this in. You said, "Motherhood didn't set me back. It gave me perspective and a fire to build something truly meaningful."
Yeah.
Which is lovely. You know,
That's
Yeah,
so
that's
lovely.
what, yeah, it's
what
like
difference has
nothing.
it made being a mum?
Oh my God, I didn't expect it. I just nearly cried then. And that just sort of caught me off guard. I just felt goosebumps go all up my body. I think like when it's you, like if things go wrong, it's just you. You know, like you'll scoop yourself up, you'll bounce back, you'll be fine. But when you are looking at that tiny person who relies on you, sorry, it's the hormones. The hormones.
All good.
When you're looking at that person that just completely relies on you, and you just think like, oh, I just want to give everything I can. I'm from a really working class background, you know, like I had school dinners, like the tickets, you know, we were like sort of the single mum, raised me on her own. I wouldn't change a thing about my childhood because it made me who I am. Like I don't expect anything. I know everything comes from hard work. Do I really want that for my children? To constantly have to worry about money. I remember worrying about money when I was like really, really little, you know, like thinking that, you know, constantly having that stress. And I just don't want that for them. Like, I want them to come back and say, I want to go on the ski trip, and me be like, yeah, okay, you can go on the ski trip. Like, I couldn't have gone on the ski trip. The rich kids went on the ski trip, you know, just little things like, that's not a little thing. That's for me, that is a big thing to go on the ski trip because that is still expensive. But like those things where you just think it changes your perspective of what you had growing up. You get really self-reflective, and you go, how was my life like to this point? What was it all for? It was for them, actually. And what can I do now to give them the best start in life that they can? And nothing drives me more. Like I was there in the middle of the night with my baby, like she wouldn't go down. She had silent reflux. And I just held her tight, pulled my laptop out and sent emails and did my marketing and cracked on with work, because I was like, she's not going to be little forever. And when she suddenly realizes what's around her and her surroundings, I want her to, it was for her, you know, it's all for her. And it is obviously it's going to be for me as well, but it is all for her. And now for this little one as well. Like it's nothing like we'll kick you like that.
So much. That's such a, I feel like I had an expectation of how this conversation would go because I had the benefit of listening to you. But there's just such a like complete difference as well. It's so lovely. Like there's another level of softness, I think. Will you tell the little bit of story when I think I remember this correctly about you asking your mum? I think you had to ask your mum to help you set something up. And I remember that conversation. I was like, will you tell that bit of the story? Look at your face.
Yeah, of course. So like so to get all the money
I was
into
going to say,
the
what happened with the money
studio.
conversation? I want to know that.
So it was like it was a really scary moment, but I'd had lots and lots of different conversations. So the way that I actually then went about it was like, okay, so actually getting in a lump sum in a syndicate is actually just not going to work for me. So what's going to work? It's a harder direction to go, but it's getting lots of people to believe in you.
Okay.
And then I went around the avenue of going to get like 10K here, 20K here. And I made sure that I was SEIS registered. So the way that, I mean, I get asked a lot of the time, like, how do you get people to part with their cash? And if you think of it as, so SEIS is tax deductible when you're registered. So they'll get immediately 50% off their investment back off their tax bill.
Oh, interesting.
So it just meant that for them then, I'm saying like, would you put in £10,000? Immediately, it's only worthwhile if they're earning a certain amount. It's £5,000. If the business fails, they get, after 3 years, they get an additional 36% off their tax bill. So then it's £1,400. So then if someone has that money, maybe and they believe in you and they like you and they know, I went out to people who come to my classes in London and who knew what I was doing. And I was like, you used to come to all my classes in London. Did you know that what you went to in London does not exist in Cardiff? Suddenly they're like, what? And I was like, and you could be a founding investor. Like suddenly that changes the conversation. And then you're asking them for 50% of your money, really, because they're going to get that 50% back. That's 36% then if the business fails. And then £1,400 is not, it's a lot of money, but it's not £10,000.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So actually
Brilliant.
then going out and having those conversations with people who I knew believed in me, believed in the brand, had experienced me in some kind of way, it was just suddenly became so much easier and lighter, and it was better for me personally. And it also meant that, like Kelly, you touched on, you had an investor who was quite hard on you and asked for reviews and asked for pay, like all those sort of things. These aren't those kind of people. They are the people who just genuinely want you to do well and genuinely believe in you, and like that when you are making decisions, they trust that you know what you're doing. And like, actually, I was like, again, you have to remember that postpartum, I was like, I just need you to know that I know what I'm doing. And let's just go for it. And people who like, they find it really exciting what you're doing, but probably would never do it themselves. Like starting a business, launching it, like for them, no. But for you to do it and I can help you, yes. Do you know what I mean?
They have like part involvement in it as well. And I can see how you may have also even created a community of investors also. They came into the whole community thing really as well. That's really interesting.
And it's so nice. And they come down, like some of them are from London, so they come down and they spend the day here and they'll go do a bunch of classes, and they just like, it feels nice for them because they're like, oh, I own a part of this.
Yeah.
And so that was it. That was a big thing for me, was I went down the avenue of someone going like, here's a big lump sum of money. And then I was like, actually, to take that much of my business, that much control, like I was like, no, like this isn't going to work. Certain things they were saying, I was like, that doesn't make sense in my business. They were like, you should have all 3 classes running every hour on the hour from morning to night. And I was like, no, like that is absolutely not how a fitness studio works. And actually, if you don't see that happening, you're going to think that my business is failing. And that's not how fitness studios work. So actually, you just don't get it. So like, I just need someone who understands the vision a little bit more.
Yeah.
So then going back to my mum then.
Yes,
so my mum is a single mum. She's raised me and my brother on her own. Like, she's just an incredible woman, but like, always put us first. She didn't chase a career. She didn't chase anything outside of, I just want to feed my children and make sure that they're okay. It just meant that we were like the poor kids at school. I was actually from a really working class area, so there was lots of poor kids, thankfully, who were just the ones who had the meal tickets, and that was just how we had it. When it came to, one of the things that my mum is so proud of is that she owns her house. And that was the big thing, because we could have gone into a council estate, and she really, really wanted to hold on to a house. So the fact that she was able to do that was huge for her. So Kelly, this is like a little bit more of the background of like of the story. So when it came to getting all of my fitness equipment, the commercial finance deals, I had to have a guarantor. And part of that guarantor was putting my house online. And even with my house, it wasn't enough. It got to the point where I was like, I just don't know how I'm going to get the money, because if I don't have equipment, I don't have a business. What am I going to do? Get everyone doing star jumps? Like, it's not going to work. And my mum was like, I'll be a guarantor. And my mum put a house up to make sure that I could secure all of the gym equipment.
But if that isn't going to compel you to succeed, I don't know what is. That and your
exactly.
That and your child.
It just feels so lovely that full circle of the way you've spoken about your daughter, and obviously your next one as well. This is all for them. It, you can hear what your mum wanted for you both, you and your brother.
So we have a post-it question, which is this: if you could write a message on a post-it and leave it up in a a ladies' room for another female founder to read and find, what would you write on that post-it?
You can do hard things.
Yeah.
So gorgeous.
This sort of stream, like the line that, like the Kelly, the talk that I did, the one that I did previously was that everything that you're doing in your life is just gathering evidence that you can do hard things. So like when you then come to the big scary thing, you look back at everything that you have achieved before and know that you can do hard things because you've done it.
We did it with this podcast. I'm the
So
kind of
Exactly.
person that would stand at the back of photographs, and here I am on a video podcast.
So good.
You can do hard
Exactly.
things.
Thank you so much.
Alex, thank you.
It was gorgeous. Really so insightful.